Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, IELTS Vocabulary Listening practice topic name is 30 IELTS Vocabulary Essential Words. List ZO2.
Welcome. Yes, we've got this fantastic list of 30 words, and they're not just any words, are they? These are really crucial for expressing yourself clearly, whether you're in, an academic setting or just everyday life.
Exactly. And today we're doing a deep dive. Our mission isn't just to skim through definitions. We want to take these words, these concepts, and really unpack them.
That's the plan. Go beyond what they mean. We need to look at how they work. The synonyms, the context, the subtle shades of meaning, how using one word instead of another can completely change the impact.
We're aiming for those aha moments, right? We suddenly see, that's why I choose prudent here, not just knowing, or understand the weight behind deserting versus simply leaving.
Precisely. And because there are 30 words, which is quite a lot, we figured grouping them thematically would help. It lets us see the connections, between words describing, say, physical things versus feelings, or actions versus judgment.
Makes sense. It helps build a mental map. So where do we start?
Let's jump right into segment 1, describing condition, emotion, and judgment. This cluster focuses on words for physical states, intense feelings, and intellectual qualities.
Okay, first up, denims.
Yeah.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Pants made from denim fabric. Jeans, basically.
Right, jeans. But using the word denims itself, it can feel a little different, can't it? It's a highly adaptable noun. You've got the obvious synonyms, jeans, blue jeans, maybe dungarees, although that sounds a bit dated now.
Dungarees, yeah, definitely feels a bit retro. So why denims? What's the nuance?
Well, often it comes down to tone, especially in writing. If you say, she wore comfortable denims for the casual outing, it sounds maybe a touch more descriptive, slightly more formal, perhaps, than just saying jeans.
I see. This sort of highlights the material itself, the fabric quality.
Exactly. And the examples we have point to its cultural role, too, a staple in modern fashion. It's not just clothing, it's an idea. And it lets you describe conditions specifically, like he ripped his denims while hiking. You connect the fabric's nature to the event.
So it bridges the gap between just casual wear and a more maybe considered description, utility, style, condition, all wrapped up.
It's nicely put. It's a good foundational word for that reason. Okay, moving from the physical to the intensely psychological. Let's talk about ecstasy.
Okay. The definition is an overwhelming feeling of great happiness or joyful excitement. Overwhelming is the key word there, I think.
It really is. And think about the synonyms. Joy, rapture, bliss, elation. Ecstasy sits at the very top of that scale. It implies an emotional peak, doesn't it? Almost like you're outside yourself for a moment, overcome by this intense positive feeling.
So it's different from just being happy. Happiness can be, a steady state. Ecstasy sounds more like a burst.
A flashpoint, exactly. A temporary, maybe even transcendent state. Think about the example. She was in ecstasy after the proposal. That's not just pleased. It's this incredibly intense, possibly private moment of delight where nothing else matters.
Right. And it could be collective, too, like the music brought the crowd to ecstasy. That suggests a shared euphoria, maybe at a concert or festival.
Absolutely. Using ecstasy signals that the feeling is intense, maybe overwhelming, and perhaps not something that lasts forever. It pushes beyond everyday emotional words. If you just said the crowd was happy, you'd lose that sense of absolute temporary transcendence.
That sets a high bar for emotion. Okay, let's shift to anticipation. Eager, meaning wanting something, very much keen.
Eager has this active energy to it, doesn't it? It's not just wanting something passively. Look at the synonyms. Keen, enthusiastic, avid, zealous. Keen and enthusiastic are quite close. Avid suggests a real passion, maybe for a hobby. Zealous. That can sometimes imply almost fanatical devotion, right?
Yeah, zealous feels stronger, maybe even a bit intense. So eager is more about focused anticipation. Like students are eager to start the project. They're ready to go, impatient to begin.
Exactly. There's a forward momentum. But it can also apply when you're waiting for something, but with that excited edge. Like she was eager for news from home. It's not just waiting. It's waiting with hope and excitement.
So describing fans as eager fans captures that restless energy much better than just waiting fans.
Precisely. It paints a much more vivid picture of their mood. It's an active word.
Okay, shifting gears now into intellectual quality. Wise. Definition.
Yeah.
Having or showing experience, knowledge, and sound judgment.
This is such an important word, wise. It gets to the heart of acting effectively, not just knowing stuff. The synonyms knowing, sage, prudent, judicious, all point towards applying intelligence in a practical, sound way.
But there's a distinction, isn't there? You can be incredibly knowledgeable in a specific area, a real expert, but maybe still not be considered wise if you lack judgment.
That's the crucial point. Knowledge is about collecting information. Wisdom is about synthesis, application, judgment. You might know a lot about finance, but making a wise decision to save money early, that's wisdom in action. It's about foresight, maybe ethical considerations, long-term thinking.
So it applies to actions, but also to people, like the wise elder advised the village. That implies the community recognizes and trusts their judgment built over time.
Exactly. And it even applies to how we communicate. Choose your words wise in sensitive situations. Using the word wise signals something more profound than just smart or informed. It suggests foresight, balance, sound ethical grounding. It's about judgment, fundamentally.
The focus on sound judgment, linking information to effective action, that feels like a really good transition to our next segment.
Agreed. Let's move into segment 2, action, connection, and severing ties. Here we're looking at verbs about creating links, building foundations, finishing things, and, well, walking away.
Okay, starting with connect.
Yeah.
Definition: to join or link together. Seems pretty basic.
It is foundational, yes, but its power lies in how it moves from the physical to the abstract. Physically, it's straightforward. Connect the wires. The bridge connects the two cities. Simple linking.
But the abstract use, that's where it gets interesting for thinking and communication. Like, you need to connect the ideas in the essay.
Exactly. That's not just linking. It's about showing logical coherence, finding the relationship between potentially separate points. It's fundamental to critical thinking. When you use connect intellectually, you're highlighting a necessary relationship or dependency. It's an act of building meaning.
And building meaning, or building something more concrete, leads us to establish, defined as setting up or creating something on a firm or permanent basis.
The synonyms here are revealing. To set up, found, institute, initiate. They all suggest creating something intended to last, something stable. When you establish something, you're aiming for permanence.
So starting a company, they plan to establish a new business, creating a lasting structure.
Right. But think about diplomacy. The treaty established peace. That's not just a pause in fighting, it's meant to be a lasting foundation. Or legally, evidence helped establish his innocence. Here, establish means proving something conclusively, creating certainty.
That's interesting. It implies proving validity beyond doubt in that legal context.
Yes, it moves from physical creation, like a business, to conceptual or legal certainty.
But doesn't that intention of permanence add weight if the thing later fails? If peace established by a treaty breaks down, the word established kind of highlights the gravity of that failure.
It absolutely does. It sets a benchmark. The failure seems greater because the original intent was permanence. It underscores that permanence is often an aim, not always the reality.
Okay, so from creating and establishing, let's look at concluding things. To close, definition. To move so as to cover an opening. To shut, again, seems simple.
Deceptively simple. Physically, yes. Close the door. Standard security or privacy. Operationally, the store will close early, ending the day's business.
But then you get into business and law. They finally managed to close the deal after months of negotiations.
And that's where it gains significant weight. Closing a deal isn't just shutting a door, it's finalizing a contract, making it legally binding. It marks a point of completion, often with financial or legal finality. It can be the point of no return.
Okay, now moving from simple finality to something with maybe a moral dimension, to desert, meaning to abandon someone or something in a disloyal way.
Ah, yes. The synonyms really drive home the negative weight. To abandon, forsake, leave, betray. The key here is the implication of disloyalty or failing a duty.
So if you just leave a project that's failing, maybe that's a practical decision. But if you desert it...
It implies you had an obligation to stay, a commitment you broke. That's why it's used so strongly in military contexts. Soldiers who desert their posts face severe penalties. It's seen as a profound betrayal of trust and duty.
And even in personal relationships, right? Don't desert your friends when they're going through tough times. It means more than just not being around. It implies actively failing them in their time of need. Choosing desert is a strong moral statement.
Absolutely. It carries significant ethical weight.
Okay, one more in this segment focusing on delay. Dally. To act or move slowly. To loiter or waste time.
Dally. It's an interesting one. Synonyms. Loiter, dawdle, linger, procrastinate. It seems to cover both physical slowness and mental hesitation.
It does. It's often used negatively, especially when there's urgency. Don't dally, we need to leave now. Stop wasting time.
But it can also be sort of Leisurely, he would dally in the park after school. That sounds more like pleasant lingering, not necessarily negative procrastination.
True. Where it gets particularly useful, I think, is describing that kind of indecisiveness, that mental hesitation. She dallied over her decision for weeks. It captures that feeling of being stuck, unable to commit, maybe playing with ideas without settling.
So it's not just being lazy, it's a specific kind of unproductive hovering. Yes, a sort of playful but potentially unhelpful avoidance of getting down to business. Using dally can pinpoint that specific type of delay really well.
Okay, that makes sense. Ready for the next set?
Let's do it. Segment 3. Navigating conflict, law, and disorder. This group looks at legal roles, social action, and states of chaos.
Starting with a legal figure, magistrate, a civil officer who administers the law, especially in minor cases.
Right. The magistrate is often the first point of contact with the legal system for many everyday issues. Synonyms like justice of the peace, judge, judicial officer place them firmly within the judiciary, but typically at a level dealing with less severe cases.
So their role is quite administrative in many ways, like the example the magistrate presided over the traffic court or someone having to appear before the magistrate for a hearing.
Exactly. They handle the day-to-day legal machinery for things like minor offenses, small claims, that sort of thing. But their authority is real and important. When the magistrate issued a fine for the violation, that's a legally binding decision. Understanding this role helps clarify the structure of the legal system.
Got it. From an individual officer to large-scale action. Crusade. A vigorous campaign for political, social, or religious change.
Now, crusade is a word loaded with history and intensity. The synonyms campaign, movement, drive, mission hint at its focused, persistent nature, but crusade itself suggests something more. Righteous, perhaps. A struggle driven by strong conviction.
We definitely see it used for social movements. She led a crusade against environmental pollution. Using crusade elevates it beyond just a campaign, doesn't it? It implies deep moral commitment.
It really does. Or think about historical shifts. The crusade for equal rights gained momentum. It frames the effort as a major, dedicated struggle. Even on a smaller scale, his personal crusade improved community health. The word crusade signals that this was a passionate, dedicated effort, not just a casual project.
But is there a risk of overusing it? Given its historical baggage, when does a regular campaign become a crusade?
That's a fair question. I think you use crusade when the effort involves significant commitment, faces strong opposition, or is driven by a powerful moral or ethical purpose. It's about conveying the intensity and dedication involved. A simple fundraising drive isn't usually a crusade. A long, hard-fought battle against injustice might be.
Okay, that distinction helps. Now, crucial for both legal settings and conflicts is neutral, not supporting or helping either side in a conflict. Impartial.
Neutrality is fundamental, isn't it? Especially for fairness. The synonyms impartial, unbiased, objective, disinterested are all key virtues in many professions. Academia, journalism, law.
Politically, it means staying out of it. The country remained neutral during the war, avoiding taking sides.
And professionally, it's often a requirement. The judge must stay neutral in proceedings. But it's tricky, isn't it? Can someone always be perfectly neutral? If you witness a clear wrong, does remaining neutral become a stance in itself?
That's a deep ethical question. But linguistically, when we use neutral, we're signaling the ideal or the attempts to be unbiased, right?
Yeah.
Like aiming for a neutral tone is best for academic writing, even if perfect objectivity is debatable.
Precisely. It states the intention of fairness and lack of bias. Okay, moving towards the darker side now. Vicious. Deliberately cruel or violent. Ferocious.
This word packs a punch. Vicious. Synonyms like ferocious, savage, brutal, malicious all point to aggression, harm, cruelty. The obvious use is physical. The vicious attack shocked the community.
Yes, that's the immediate association. But where vicious becomes really powerful is its application to abstract things, to systems. Think about the phrase, he broke the vicious cycle of poverty.
Right. The cycle itself isn't physically attacking someone, but its effects are brutal and self-perpetuating.
Exactly. The system itself is described as vicious because of its cruel outcomes. That's a sophisticated use. It also applies to threats or intimidation. The dog's vicious bark scared intruders. The intent to harm, or the perception of that intent, is key across all these uses, physical, systemic, or threatening.
So vicious describes the cool quality. What about the overall state of chaos? That brings us to turbulent, characterized by conflict, disorder, or confusion, blustering.
Turbulent suggests upheaval, instability being tossed about. Synonyms include tumultuous, stormy, chaotic. We know it literally from flying. The flight experienced turbulent weather.
And metaphorically, for society or history, the turbulent times tested the nation's resolve. It implies that things are unstable, norms are being challenged.
Yes, a sense of being caught in a storm. And it applies personally, too. Their relationship was turbulent from the start. It suggests constant conflict, ups and downs, a lack of peace. Using turbulent instead of just chaotic often emphasizes that feeling of struggle and volatility.
Makes sense. It gives a stronger sense of ongoing conflict.
Right. Shall we move on to how we handle information?
Lex, segment 4, truth, deception, and information exchange. This feels very relevant today. Starting with interplay, the way in which two or more things have an effect on each other, mutual influence.
Interplay is a great word for analysis. It's much more dynamic than just saying relationship.
Yeah.
The synonyms, interaction, reciprocity, exchange, correlation, all emphasize this two-way street, this mutual feedback loop. A affects B, and then B affects A back.
Essential for understanding complex systems like economics, the interplay between supply and demand. Neither one exists in a vacuum. They constantly influence each other.
Exactly, or socially. Cultural interplay enriches societies. That's about mutual exchange and blending, even visually in art. The interplay of light and shadow, they define each other. Using interplay shows you recognize that dynamic complexity, not just a simple link.
Okay, from complex interaction to revealing secrets.
To disclose.
To make known or reveal something secret.
Disclose is all about bringing something into the open, often something previously hidden. Synonyms like to reveal, divulge, expose, uncover all point to this act of revelation.
It could be a deliberate choice not to reveal, like she refused to disclose her sources, maybe protecting them.
Or it can be mandated. Laws require companies to disclose risks. That's about transparency for public good, informed consent. And sometimes it's the outcome of digging. The report disclosed financial irregularities, making hidden facts public. The power of disclose often lies in the fact that the information was previously concealed.
Okay, now let's talk about not being straightforward. Oblique. Not direct or straightforward, indirect.
Oblique immediately signals evasion or indirectness. Synonyms like indirect, slanting, evasive, circuitous reinforce that. It works geometrically. The path took an oblique route, not straight. But it's very powerful in communication.
Right, like his oblique reference confused the audience, hinting at something without actually saying it.
And often, it's deliberate avoidance. She gave an oblique answer to avoid the truth. Choosing oblique rather than just indirect suggests a strategic, perhaps deceptive angle. It implies the speaker is intentionally dodging the issue. A useful word for analysis.
Definitely. Speaking of potentially unreliable information, let's tackle hearsay, information received from other people that cannot be substantiated. Rumor.
Hearsay. So important in any field that requires proof or verification. Synonyms like rumor, gossip, speculation immediately tell you it's unreliable, unproven.
Which is why courts generally don't allow it as evidence, right?
Yeah.
Decisions should not be based on hearsay. And describing something as mere hearsay dismisses it as lacking factual basis.
Precisely. Yet we know how quickly it travels. Hearsay spread quickly through the office, or online, even faster. Understanding what hearsay is helps us identify and hopefully resist the spread of unverified information. It's about critical evaluation of sources.
Very true. And our last word in this group is quite a strong one. Mendacity. Untruthfulness, the act of lying.
Mendacity is potent. It often implies more than just a single lie. It suggests a pattern, a habit of dishonesty. That's why it carries such weight. Synonyms: lying, dishonesty, falsehood, deceit.
So you'd use it in pretty serious contexts, like legal or political critiques. His mendacity was exposed during the trial. The aim there isn't just to say he lied once, but to suggest his whole testimony or character is fundamentally untrustworthy.
Exactly. It's a word used to dismantle credibility. Calling something mendacity suggests a deep, maybe systemic dishonesty, not just a white lie. That makes advice like avoid mendacity to build trust much more serious than just don't lie. It speaks to foundational integrity.
Wow, yeah, that's a heavy hitter. Okay, ready for the final stretch.
Let's wrap it up. Segment 5. State, condition, and completion. This covers achieving goals, flaws, inactivity, separation, and a couple of final concepts.
Starting on a positive note. To accomplish, to achieve or complete successfully.
Accomplish really emphasizes success through effort. Synonyms like to achieve, fulfill, attain, realize all point to reaching a goal after some work.
It often highlights the effort. She worked hard to accomplish her goals, or the efficiency. The team accomplished the mission ahead of schedule.
And it's great for setting targets. What do you hope to accomplish today? It gives a clear sense of successful completion, of ticking the box after effort.
Okay, now very specific kind of completion related to travel, touchdown. Here focusing on the aircraft landing definition.
Right. Touchdown. The word itself evokes that moment of contact with the ground. Synonyms are straightforward. Landing, arrival, grounding. It's all about the successful end of the flight.
And we use it to describe how it went. The plane made a smooth touchdown, or if things were tricky. Passengers applauded after the bumpy touchdown.
And for logistics, fog delayed the touchdown. It marks that precise, critical moment of safe arrival.
Okay, shifting from success to failure or flaws. Defective. Imperfect or faulty. Not working properly.
Defective is a key term in manufacturing, engineering, consumer rights. Synonyms: faulty, flawed, broken, impaired. It signals something isn't working as it should, often requiring action.
Like a product recall. The defective product was recalled. The flaw is serious enough to prevent proper function.
Exactly. It's crucial for finding root causes. Defective wiring caused the fire. And it guides what consumers should do. Return the defective item for a refund. It's the standard term for something fundamentally flawed in its function.
Got it. Next, states of inactivity. First, dormant, in a state of rest or inactivity. Inactive.
The key thing about dormant is the implication of potential. It's not gone, just inactive for now. Synonyms like sleeping, latent, quiescent reinforce this idea of rest, not permanent cessation.
So a volcano can be dormant for centuries, but the potential to erupt is still there.
Right. And abstractly, dormant talents can be awakened. The potential exists, unused. Financially, an account lay dormant. It's inactive, but it still exists. Dormant suggests sleeping energy.
Okay, related but different. Idle. Avoiding work or employment. Lazy. Or not operating.
Idle is more about non-use, sometimes suggesting laziness, unlike dormant's latent potential. It distinguishes between someone being lazy, he was idle during the summer break, and a machine simply not being used.
And there's the old saying, right? Idle hands often lead to mischief, a sort of moral warning against inactivity.
Yes, but it can also be neutral, just describing non-operation. The machine sat idle due to repairs. It could work, but isn't currently. Context is key to whether it implies laziness or just non-use.
Okay, let's look at a couple of descriptive words for behavior and appearance. First, mischievous, causing or showing a fondness for causing trouble in a playful way.
Mischievous is all about playful trouble. Not malicious, but naughty. Synonyms: impish, naughty, roguish, playful. It's about intentional disruption, but usually lighthearted, like the mischievous child hid his sister's toys.
You can often see it in someone's expression. His mischievous grin gave away the prank.
Exactly. And even animals. Cats can be mischievous when bored. It captures that specific blend of cleverness and playful rule-breaking.
Next, a word for appearance or mood. Drab, lacking brightness or interest. Dull.
Drab is great for conveying a lack of visual appeal or emotional stimulation. Synonyms: dull, dreary, gloomy, lackluster. You might describe the drab office, suggesting it's boring and uninspiring, but it also works emotionally. Life felt drab without adventure. It captures that feeling of monotony or blandness. It's a good word for anything that fails to engage or excite, like avoiding drab colors in design.
Okay, nearly there. Words about separation. Isolated. Far away from other places or people. Lonely.
Isolated works on two levels: physical distance and emotional state. Physically, the isolated cabin in the woods, remote, far from others.
And emotionally, he felt isolated in the new city. That deep feeling of loneliness, of being disconnected.
Yes, it bridges geography and psychology nicely. And analytically, it means separate, distinct occurrences. Isolated incidents do not indicate a trend. This is crucial in research distinguishing random events from patterns.
And paired with that is missing. Not present or found. Lost.
Missing signifies an absence, a gap. Synonyms: lost, absent, gone, misplaced. Most directly, searching for someone. The missing child.
But also informational gaps. Key information is missing from the report. Something crucial isn't there.
And emotionally, it captures longing. She's been missing her hometown lately. It signifies the absence of a person, thing, information, or even a feeling.
Right. Okay, just two more concepts left. First, fortunate. Favored by or involving good luck. Lucky.
Fortunate attributes, positive outcomes to luck or favorable circumstances. Synonyms: lucky, blessed, prosperous, auspicious. It can be pure chance. We were fortunate to find tickets. Or the fortunate winner of a lottery.
Or it can highlight advantages someone has. He is fortunate to have a supportive family. It's a versatile way to talk about good outcomes, whether earned or by chance.
And the very last one, hashish, a narcotic drug made from the resin of the cannabis plant.
This one seems quite specific.
It is. For vocabulary purposes, it's mainly about recognizing it as a specific type of drug derived from cannabis. The context is usually legal or related to law enforcement. It's a legal status in many places. Or news reports like, authorities seized a shipment of hashish. It's about identifying it as a controlled substance.
Got it. So that's all 30. Quite a journey through different types of words.
It really is, from describing denims to discussing dormancy and mendacity.
So we've finished our deep dive into these 30 essential concepts. I think grouping them really helped show the connections, didn't it? How words for emotions like ecstasy relate to judgments like wise, or how actions like establish contrast with desert.
Absolutely. What this really demonstrates is that building your vocabulary isn't just memorizing lists. It's about gaining strategic tools. Precision comes from understanding the nuances.
So the big takeaway for you, the listener.
It's that mastering these words, especially understanding their synonyms and how context shifts their meaning, distinguishing dormant from idle or hearsay from proven fact, that's the key. It allows you to express complex thoughts with real clarity and avoid vague, generic language. It gives your communication power.
Choosing the right tool for the linguistic job every single time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. We talked about mendacity, active lying, and hearsay, passive, unverified rumor. In our complex, sometimes turbulent world where clear communication is so vital, which do you think poses the bigger threat? The deliberate falsehood or the unverified story that spreads like wildfire?
The active lie versus the unchecked rumor. That's a really interesting question to ponder, something for all of us to think about as we work on using these words more precisely.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope exploring these 30 words has given you some immediately useful insights for more powerful communication.
And before you go, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.